Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Hump Night edition of the Yard. I tell you one thing, as busy as the portal's been this week, it's tough to keep a regular schedule. It is. Because just when you get started on something, somebody else commits. And it kind of changes what you're working on. So, decided to punt to tonight when maybe things have calmed down a little bit and wrapping up the dead period, and we'll kind of give you an update on the portal a little bit later in the show. Got a cool top 10 list for you. Kind of a synth pop band that maybe you've forgotten about and you shouldn't have. We'll talk more about that. We'll talk a little basketball and, just whatever kind of comes to mind. But I want to share this with you because we're family. And there has been a member of my family that has done something of significance. So I want to share it with the rest of the family. And I want to give a little bit, I'm going to preach a little bit, okay? All right? So indulge me. So you guys know my youngest daughter, Mia, is at Harvard Law. And she just wrapped up her first semester up there. And I can tell you, man, like in the beginning, she had to embrace to a new level of expectations. It's Harvard, after all. And, there was an adjustment period. And we spoke, and that's where, fatherly wisdom kind of comes in, But I'm happy to say we got her grades back yesterday. And she aced it. And she got 3 Dean's Prize Awards. That's a more technical name for it. But basically, one of the top students in her class in 3 of her 5 classes. And at the end of the first year, there is one person that wins the Sears Award. They don't make it public because it's more about the progress than it is any publicity. But she's now in contention to win that award as possibly the number 1 law student, first-year law student in Harvard. And this is a Mississippi State educated young lady. Had a conversation with her last night. Wanted to kind of collect my emotions a little bit too. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you guys see this hard edge and tattoos and long hair and that kind of stuff, and you think that I'm just always mad at the world. That's just not true. But I do have a bit of an edge. But one of the things that gets to me is my girls, Dana and my daughters. Right? My boys, I'm very proud of them too. But I guess it's one of those things. Because I've always felt like I had more of a duty to protect my girls, right? And I don't mean that in a sexist sort of way. Because I think guys along the way, you kind of figure out, like you watch dad growing up, and more times than not, you watch the same-sex parent, right? You kind of pattern your behavior. Because it was Dana, for the most part, bringing them to dance competitions, and it was me bringing Ani and Ian the ball games, and so you don't always have maybe that same one-on-one time. And if you have it, you cherish it. And so last night, I think I probably had one of the top 2 conversations I have ever had with Mia Robertson. Because she was a different person. She went from being this young lady from Starkville, Mississippi, that was chasing a dream at a prestigious Ivy League school, wondering if she belonged, to knowing she belonged. And now she has the receipts to prove it. And the confidence in her voice, not arrogance, not cockiness, but confidence. The confidence that you gain from earning something through work. And one of the things that I told her, and I said, I'm going to make a mental note, and I'm going to share this with all of you, because I think it's something that could benefit you, maybe as a parent or just as a person. One of the things that I have pushed my children to do is to not do their best. I want that to sink in for a second. Because sometimes doing our best is an excuse not to try harder. I've always told my children, I don't want to hear you did your best. I want to hear you did what was required. Listen, I don't believe in the participation trophy. I wasn't raised on that. I didn't instill that in my children. And one of the things that I told Mia is People like you give me hope for your generation. And I'll tell you why. My dad grew up 3 to a bed, a full-size bed, on Augusta Road in Jones County, Ellisville, Mississippi. And he went to Mississippi State, tried to better his life, better the life of his future children, and he changed his family tree forever. My dad was a very intelligent man, but he wasn't highly educated coming up as a child. There was a lot he had to learn. He comes to Mississippi State, he gets challenged. In addition to his studies, he drove the street sweeper around to beautify our campus, and he worked work study at the dairy. And so my dad kind of passed that down to me about work, the responsibility you have to your employer, to your customers, but to yourself. You got to decide what kind of person you want to be. My dad used to have this little funny expression, and it didn't come from him, I'm sure, because I've seen it. And I haven't seen it passed around so much these days because everybody's so dadgum sensitive. But my dad told me one day, he said, son, he said, the difference between me and a lot of other people is I'm like, when you think about the pig and the chicken and their contributions to breakfast, I'm the pig. I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, the chicken is involved in breakfast, but the pig is totally committed. Now, that's a joke, but that euphemism rings true. Are you totally committed? And that's the thing I told Mia. One of the things that I have loved and respected about her, and some of it is just a generational thing, right, is that she has embraced high hurdles. Now, Dana and I have never lowered the hurdles for our children, ever. Ever. There's a lot of people out there, their son doesn't make the travel team, so dad'll make another one for all the other kids that didn't make a travel team. You know what? That's why we have rec baseball. Guys, as much fun as it is, not everybody's good enough to play travel team baseball. That's important to understand. When my girls were dancing competitively, there were some girls that weren't quite as talented, and they didn't get to be in the first company dance troupe. And you know what? If everybody can be in it, then it's not worth anything. And it's just like when I begin to think about how important it is that we push our best and brightest the hardest for the betterment of the country, I'm glad that Mia is being pushed there. Because what she's learned this first semester is I have to elevate my efforts. If I want to clear the high hurdle, I've got to get better. And there are a lot of parents out there, and I hate to sound judgmental, but I know it sounds that way, and you know what? That's okay. If you go out there and lower the hurdles for your kids, they will never get better. Never. They'll do their best, but they won't do what's required. And if you want to succeed in life, back to that whole thing about breakfast, you got to be the pig. You got to be totally committed. And there's a lot of people out there that say, well, it shouldn't be so dadgum hard. Yes, it should be. It should be. And there are two professions out there that I would argue we probably should expect the most from. That's doctors and lawyers. Doctors are probably number one. And so it's interesting. You can find whatever you want on the internet. I had read some time ago that there were certain schools and states that lowered the entrance requirements to be doctors. And I thought to myself, how stupid is this? We're going to dumb it down, the most important profession that we have in society. We're going to make it easier to be a doctor? Why? Are we doing that just because of the fact that we want to give more people access to maybe a little more wealth at the risk of other people's health? You know how stupid that sounds? Why would we ever lower the requirements to be a doctor? It's just dumb. Because you know what? Not everybody is cut out to be a doctor. Duh. Well, I want to be a doctor. Well, I didn't make the entrance scores. Well, they should let me in anyway. No, we shouldn't. If you do not have the aptitude to be a doctor. You got no business taking other people's lives in your hands. Not everybody is supposed to be a Harvard Law student. Some people got to go to Ole Miss. And I got a lot of friends who went to Ole Miss and do a great job as lawyers. But I often think to myself, what kind of lawyer would they be if they'd been able to go to Harvard or to Michigan or Virginia? One of the top 10 law schools in the country. Not everybody is cut out for that. It doesn't matter how bad you want it. Want won't get you there, right? Everybody says, well, you can do whatever you want. No, you can't. No, you can't. And people are so scared to just say that. You can try. You can shoot for Harvard and then maybe end up at Northwestern. You can shoot to play football in the Southeastern Conference and still maybe end up in the Sun Belt. You're still a college football player. But we live in a meritocracy when it comes to stuff like that. And so if you have children, and I think I'm speaking from a position of authority because I have 4 very high-achieving children that don't whine. They're not kids anymore. Is if you lower the hurdles for your kids, you're doing them a disservice. It may stop them from whining and complaining a little bit, if I can get it out. And it might make you feel a little bit better. But those dreams that you're selling will evaporate. Because at some point, your children are going to face adversity, with or without you. And they're not going to be socialized and conditioned for it. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. The current plans to have Bulldog Burger Company tomorrow for lunch. That's the plan. So Bulldog Burger Company, get ready. I'm coming. Get ready. I'll probably get it to go because I'll take the bride some. But I love Bulldog Burger Company. And I know it's weird because I hate onions, but I love onion rings. It's weird. I know, and Dana says it all the time, but it's just so weird. Well, the onions and rings are cooked, right? It's the uncooked onions. I mean, it's like, it's the devil's weed, man. It is. It is. But that's the best thing about Bulldog Burger Company. They'll fix it however I want it. And I love that. And I'm going to have that pimentology add bacon with onion rings. That's the plan. I may wake up tomorrow and tweak it a little bit, but that's the plan. Because some days the biggest crisis that I have in life is what I'm going to have for lunch. So I already got that figured out for tomorrow, so it should be a heck of a day. Make tomorrow a great day for yourself and get some Bulldog Burger Company. Whether you're in Starkville or Tupelo or the Ridge and Flowwood area, you need to go by and check them out. Of course, right here in Starkville, right there in the heart of the Cotton District, University Drive, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive out there in the Ridge and Flowwood area, your central Mississippi location. Maybe have some onion rings. Some people like to dip onion rings in comeback sauce. That's not me. It's not. Maybe it's you. I like my onion rings dry. I don't put ketchup on them or anything. I just eat them. And I like them. And they have great onion rings at Bulldog Burger Company. Find the things that you love at Bulldog Burger Company. Maybe you're not feeling like a burger, but everybody else is. Maybe get that BLT salad. I like mine grilled. You may like it fried. It's okay. I'm from South Mississippi, so ranch dressing goes on everything. It's a staple of life down in the 601. And then get that chocolate shake to go. You can ride that ride home with a smile. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. MEAT. Let's start with basketball. All right. Guys, there are some things about this team that I think are fatally flawed. And I hate to phrase it that way, but that's how I feel. And I think Chris Jans is probably getting as much as he can out of this roster. I think we have had some evaluations that have not gone as we've expected. And Bulldogs now lost 2 in a row. And we knew it'd be challenging. I actually felt better about the game at Lexington than I did Alabama because Alabama's just been a matchup nightmare for us. And even though they were short a couple guys, man, they're legit. Got a big game coming up Saturday, Be a basketball alumni weekend here on campus as we play Ole Miss. We'll talk more about that game on Friday. But looking back at Tuesday night, sellout crowd, man, and thanks to all of you that turned out. Man, first half, it looked like, hey, State might put these guys on the ropes here for a little while, right? And we did. You know, you look up and it's like, if you're like me, I'm like, oh, man. Like we're up 10-4, just a few minutes in, and I'm thinking, you know, man, if we could just make a run here, get the crowd into it, because the crowd can kind of will you along a little bit. You know what I'm saying? It's like it just makes a difference. Under 14, State's up 15-6, and I wish it was more, right? It's like it's never enough, right? When you're trying to get that big upset, it's like you're just never, ever, ever comfortable. And then, hey, right at 10 minutes, State's up 21-12. And you're like, hey, we're kind of maintaining here. Maybe we got a shot. Be kind of a season-defining win for us because Alabama has been one of these teams that has just absolutely owned us for a while. Even in the Chris Jans era, it's just been one of those teams we just struggle. Jaden Epps rams home a big three right around 8 minutes to make it 29-15, and the hump is electric. And shout out to the students that packed it out, man. There's like three of you guys standing like in a space for one kid. I mean, I can't say enough about our students. And they're the lifeblood of our fan base, right? I mean, they're the future. And then Alabama goes on a run to close the half. And you could kind of feel it kind of just slipping away here. It just kind of felt like it's like, man, we just couldn't get it done. Missed a couple of big baskets, have long rebounds that lead to fast break points. And then that lead that we had has evaporated as we get under 2 minutes here. It's tied with $1:40 to go, and then Alabama takes the lead and takes it to the break with a 2-point advantage at 36-34. And it just felt like, you know what, man, we just didn't do enough. In the second half, Alabama did. They made some adjustments and put up 61 points to beat us 97-82. If I told you, hey, we score 82, you'd say, well, maybe we're okay against other teams. But as we discussed in our preview, like Alabama's scoring like right at 100 points. Like they have done that regularly. And we are not nearly as good defensive as we should be. We talked about Philon, 32 points in 32 minutes for Alabama. We knew he'd be a problem. He was. Aiden Holloway had 15 points. They got some guys that can really pitch. And, it's one of those things when you got guys that can make shots from anywhere and then create their own shot, it's tough. It's tough defensively. But Alabama shoots 44% for the game, 35% from beyond the arc, 82% from the line. They didn't get there much in the first half. They made a concerted effort there in the second half. Just 9 free throws in the first half, 24 in the second half. Josh Hubb, 23 points, 3 of 10 from beyond the arc, 8 of 10 from the free throw line. Josh did his best. The problem is we just don't have a third scorer. Jaden Epps kind of back on track, gives us 13 points, but from there it drops off. Sean Jones pitches in 8, and you feel like Sean's more of a defensive specialist, and when he has good offensive games, we typically win. 8 points from him is a good contribution. Achor, 8 rebounds, just played 16 minutes. 5 rebounds, 8 points. Quincy Ballard pulled down 17 rebounds, but for some reason he can't score. 6 points, 4 of them come at the line. He made 1 basket. He only shot it 5 times. And I don't know, maybe we're telling him not to. Maybe we're just telling him to get the rebound, get it to a guard, kind of reset. I don't know. But I expected more out of Quincy Ballard. I did. And Jabari McGee to 6 points. He had that one big game. I guess it was against Utah. And you just kind of look up now and it's like, what's going on? Amir Ali, remember we signed him, how excited it was? He can't get in the game. And I don't understand it. I really don't. I thought he was going to come in here and challenge for a starting spot, at least be maybe the first guy off the bench. He played 3 minutes, man. 3 minutes. And I can promise you he ain't coming for just scholarship and books. We got to figure that out. Something's not right there. Bulldogs shoot 37% for the game, 32% from beyond the arc, and 68% from the free throw line. And like Alabama, State got to the line with greater frequency in the second half, and it did feel like they called it a little bit tighter. But we lose the game, and I don't like losing. I know you guys are like me. I hate losing, and I want to win games of significance. I don't just want to stack up a bunch of non-conference wins and then win a handful of SEC games and say maybe next year. Bulldogs drop one on their home floor, kind of negates that Texas win. I mean, granted, we weren't expected to beat Alabama, but you're 7-2 now at home, 10-7 overall. And maybe because I've let the emotion of the moment die down a little bit, I'm beginning to wonder if this is a tournament team. And I know many of you won't like hearing that, but we got to go on a run here and win some ball games here pretty quick. We got to close out the month of January with a winning record in SEC play to have any chance. And it's not just because of the schedule, and it's not just because you ever Googled yourself. You may be alarmed to note exactly how much of your private information and data is out there for anybody to access. Whether it be your phone number, your home address, or details about your family. It could be your kids' names, their ages. Whether you agree to this disclosure or not. And that's because data brokers are collecting and selling your information to marketers, scammers, and basically anyone willing to pay. It's the reason robocallers know your name, and while ads seem to follow you on every digital platform out there. Well, Aura fights back for you. They remove your personal data from broker sites and keep it off. Aura also alerts you fast if your information shows up in a data breach or on the dark web. But Aura is more than just data broker removal. It's a full digital security suite that protects every part of your life online. Aura gives you a VPN to stay private, antivirus to block threats, a password manager to keep all your logins safe. They even give you spam call protection to cut off those stupid scammers. Aura also scans the dark web regularly for your most sensitive information like your social security number, bank logins, passwords, and they will notify you instantly if you are somehow exposed. If your identity is ever stolen, you're backed up by up to $5 million in insurance and 24/7 U.S.-based fraud support to help you recover everything quickly. Other services charge about the same, but they only cover one or two areas. With Aura, you get it all. Data broker removal, credit and identity monitoring, device protection, and fraud support, all with one simple app. Aura removes what is already exposed, protects what isn't, and puts you back in control. Right now, you can try Aura free for 14 days when you visit aura.com/remove. That gives them plenty of time to go ahead and start protecting your data. They can remove your personal information from data broker sites. Sign up today at aura.com/remove and get the peace of mind that your privacy, identity, and finances are all safeguarded. That's Aura, AURA.com/remove. Certain terms and conditions apply. Be sure and check it out today at aura.com. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. A lot of people are going to be talking about a new year means a new you. Well, that's not necessarily the case. How about a less burden you? Therapy can help more easily identify what weighs you down and holds you back by offering a very unbiased perspective to better understand your relationships, your motivations, and your emotions. I'm a person that absolutely believes in therapy. I think everybody needs someone they can tell everything to. Perhaps you're in that situation too. We're going to ask you to give our friends at BetterHelp an opportunity to help you deal with the triggers in life and the hang-ups, the heartbreaks. BetterHelp makes it easy to get matched online with a qualified therapist. Sign up today and get 10% off at betterhelp.com. That's better, HELP.com. It doesn't have to be this way. It could be a better version of yourself and a better version of life. Visit betterhelp.com today. The league appears to be pretty good this year. It's because of the fact I just don't think our portal additions are carrying their weight. And maybe that's something we got to evaluate. I don't know what's happening, within the room. I don't know what's happening when we break the film down. I don't know who's pulling the trigger and saying, hey, coach, this is a guy we need to get. I don't know who's making those recommendations. And you're never going to hit on all your portal guys. We had, Stevens obviously had his issues, and then Kanye Clary did, but that was like one dude, right? It just seems like we got some guys on this roster, more than one, that have issues. And you wonder were these issues not present when we went through our eval? I don't know. And again, I believe and trust in Christians, but something's just not right with this. I'm not close enough to the program to offer you any suggestions about that. And maybe it's a little bit of both. And maybe some of these guys are better players than maybe they're showing. Maybe we thought more of them than they've produced. And maybe it just wasn't a good fit. Maybe you get it down here and all of a sudden, maybe I'm not comfortable in this offense. Maybe I'm not used to playing defense, at least not at this level. The intensity that's required to play for Christians on defense. Because if you don't play defense for Chris, you're not going to play. And so it's one of those things you begin to ask yourself. Now, the Bulldogs will be, let's see here. We already talked about that. They'll play Ole Miss. But the ladies will play Vanderbilt at home Thursday at 5:30. So let's kind of jump over to that. Of course, ladies who dropped 3 in a row. And many of you kind of forecasted that. I'm not in any way, I'm going to give you credit for it. I'm not knocking you for that. I'm not saying you're a bad fan. We knew, and we talked about here on the show, those first 3 weeks of the SEC slate, if we can find a way to get a couple of wins there, we'd feel pretty good about life. We felt like Auburn was our best chance. And I hate feeling that way. That, hey, we may be 1-5 3 weeks in. And I don't know, I can't really describe kind of what happened against Oklahoma and Ole Miss. Tennessee, I thought we kind of got up off the mat and played a little bit. But, the Vanderbilt ladies playing really well too. And that's a program that we owned for several years because they just couldn't figure it out. They couldn't figure out the coaching piece. They just couldn't do it. And now they have. And they're playing well. And you can kind of see it coming. It isn't like it's an overnight sensation. Vanderbilt is 17-0 this year, ranked 5th in the country. They opened the season over in Paris, France, at the Adidas Arena in the We Play Paris. They beat Cal, Furman, and Austin Peay. In all those games, for the most part, well, Austin Peay was at home at Clarksville, Tennessee. But they went and played Cal and came back to the States. That's a long way to go for this one game. They come home, they take care of Furman. They win at Austin Peay by 10. They win at Western Kentucky. And that just seems like RPI building opportunities, right? Going on the road in a non-conference. They blast Alabama State, as everybody seems to. They get Tennessee State. They go to the Paradise Jam down in the Virgin Islands. They sweep that, obviously, and they get Oregon State and BYU. In the ACC-SEC Challenge, they hosted Virginia. They beat the Wahoos 81-68. They then rolled through South Florida, and then Albany, they get them. I mean, it was a 64-35 game. Can you imagine how boring that was? Texas Southern, they get them, blow them out by 50. They get Stonehill, they get them by 59. And then we get an SEC play. They go to Fayetteville, and they went up there 88-71. They get LSU. What a big win that was, right? Because Kim Mulkey's team, always in the mix. They win at home against LSU by 4. Big win. And then they host Missouri and crush Missouri and then beat A&M at A&M by 40. This is a very good basketball team. We will need a good and raucous crowd to give us an opportunity, but like all of you, we're going to need them to give us some help in order to win this game. Now, the Hump can be a difficult place to play, and we need it to be. But I don't give us a lot of hope in this one, and I hate to sound negative, but when you think about the way that we've played as of late and the way they're playing, these ladies are averaging 87 points a game, giving up 56. It's basically 30 points. It is a almost 31-point scoring differential. Shooting 47% from the floor, defending at 38%, 37% from beyond the arc. I mean, think about that for a second. They're shooting basically from three-point, the same percentage that their opponents are just shooting from the floor, holding their opponents to under 30% from beyond the arc, giving up just about 6.5 a game. shoot the free throws pretty well. And again, it's kind of a staple in women's basketball. They do a good job with that. Sometimes better than the men, and sometimes it's substantially better than the men. Out rebounding their opponents by 5. The men, they dish out 20 assists a game. You talk about team basketball. That is significant right there. You get into the turnover category, they're turning it over 12 times. They're forcing 23 a game. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's nuts. 226 steals on the season. Crazy. And only had it stolen 101 times. 80 blocks. Basically, in every tenet of basketball, Vanderbilt has done a great job this year. So it's going to be a good team. You need to be prepared for that. Michaela Blakes leads them with right at 25 points a game. And she's also pulling down 3.5 boards a game. Justine Passat, 11.6. And then Aubrey Galvan, 11.2. And then just beneath that is Sasha Washington, 9.6. So basically 4 double-digit scores. But Michaela Blakes is clearly the straw that stirs the drink. And 124 three-point attempts on the year. She's made 40 of them. And an elite free throw shooter as well. So, number 1, Michaela Blakes is going to be the mark. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But this is a quality team. And if we don't show up and play, we got an opportunity to get embarrassed at home. And you start thinking about eroding fan support when you get into SEC play. People make an effort. And they want to be rewarded for their investment. And when they show up and you get blasted, they just think, I'm just going to stay home next time. That's how people think. I'll just stay home and watch this on TV. I'm not going to come up here and spend the money to get there and then watch us get beat. I care, but I'm not going to keep coming. That's just the reality of it. So we need to have a good showing. But, I expect us to lose the game. And, that's just kind of being honest with you guys. I'd love to come out here on Friday's show and talk about a major upset. That's exactly what it would be. But, man, they have absolutely got this team rolling. Absolutely. So, Bulldogs could use your support. And, again, I hate to be so downtrodden about all this, but we just haven't had a good week of basketball. That's just how it is on either side. We had a terrible weekend. The men and the women both looked terrible in the second half. And then, we get beat by Alabama. And I don't want, like last year when Alabama came into Humphrey Coliseum, I thought we were going to win the game. I didn't feel that way this go around. But I thought it would be better. I kind of got pulled in, and I'm not being negative, but I thought, man, maybe this is it. Maybe the crowd can kind of get us over the hump late in this ball game. We just got to hang in there and keep punching, And we should have beat them last year. We know this. And the hump can be a difficult place to play. But, man, for some reason, we couldn't close out big games last year at home. And, we only dropped 2 so far. But it's one of those things you look at and you begin to think, man, we have got to take advantage of a home court advantage. And you guys are doing your part. I just think, again, there's some things about this team that's just not meshing well. And, Chris Jans, I think, maybe figured some things out rotationally during the non-conference. And, again, we get off to a 2-0 start and you think, okay. If we win one of the next 2, you feel great about where we are. Well, now we got to go beat Ole Miss. And, of course, we'll talk about that on Friday's show. All right, time for the Close with Blair Player of the Day, brought to you by your boy, Blair Chandler. That's right. CLOSE with Blair, BLAIR.com. Blair Chandler is my friend, your friend, our collective friend in the mortgage industry. He's the guy that knows how to get things done. It's a complicated process. Give him a call or text today at 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. And let him get his 24 years of experience and expertise working for you. Right? He can be your advocate with underwriting. He can get things taken care of when many others can't. Maybe you've been turned down in the past. It might be because you had the wrong loan officer. Blair knows how to construct loans to give them the best chance of approval. And you know what? Maybe if you're not ready, he can put you on a plan to get you ready. Whether it's your first home, your next home, or your retirement home, or perhaps that game day condo that may be more affordable than you think, Blair's the only name to know. A Bulldog through and through, got season tickets in multiple sports, a place here in town. He rides a wave of Bulldog emotion just like you do, but he doesn't discriminate. No matter who you cheer for, you can find a home solution at closetheblair.com. Okay, we're going to go with Jaden Epps as your player of the day. In order for us to win, we're going to need Jaden Epps to be a consistent second scorer and a guy that is consistently in the mid to high double figures. You know what I mean? It's like if you get 15, 16 from him a game, you feel like you got a chance. You get 20, you really feel like you should win a game because you know Hub's always going to go off. And Jaden had a couple of games there, maybe where he wasn't himself. The last couple of games kind of seen a return to form. So there you go, your Closer Blair Player of the Day, Jaden Epps of the Mississippi State men's basketball team. Time for today's Top 10 list is always brought to you by KalidoGuitars.com. That's C-A-L-I-D-O Guitars.com. You know how I spell guitars, and just Google, okay? Kalido Guitars, a Mississippi State owned and operated guitar shop down in Lake Jackson, Texas. Next time you're in the greater Houston area, maybe carve out a little time to go down and see that expansive showroom in person. Daniel and the crew down there, who are Bulldogs, will do a great job outfitting you with everything you need to be a more skilled guitar player. They give you everything but the practice time. The rest is up to you. Yeah. So, whether you're looking for a beginner guitar, an intermediate guitar, or a professional grade guitar, you can find it because this is a real guitar shop. They specialize in stringed instruments, so if you're looking for a banjo or perhaps a ukulele or anything quite like that, they can accommodate you, and they take a lot of pride in what they do. Incredible service, great selection, great pricing, but you know what? You don't have to even pay their full price. By listening to this show, we'll give you a promo code that unlocks some savings for you. Promo code is BSR, you know it well. That gets you a 10% discount off their already low price. It's the Ken Folks discount, right? That also gets you no sales tax unless you live in the great state of Texas. It gets you no shipping. And it also gets you a 5% donation to the Bulldog Excellence Fund. It's a win-win-win. You win, they win, and Mississippi State wins. I wish more businesses provided that level of incentive. Be sure and check them out today, KalidoGuitars.com. You can use that promo code in person, on the phone, or online. And the thing that I love about these guys is they didn't just send me a guitar and leave it up to me. They just lined it all up for me. When I got it, all I had to do was unpack. I could plug in and play. Incredible. Incredible service. I couldn't be happier with everything that I've got. I got a gig bag. I got a guitar stand. I got a guitar. I got a Steve Vai original signature guitar, and I absolutely love it. I love it. Most beautiful instrument I've ever owned. It's got that monkey grip that Steve Vai made so famous. It's incredible. Find something incredible for yourself. You need some incentive in life anyway. You work hard. You do. Make some time to be creative. Make some time maybe to upgrade your gear. And think of Kalido Guitars when you get ready to make that next guitar-related purchase. Some guitars with this band. But, you know, I've told you guys, I'm kind of a synth pop guy, too. Like, I love Depeche Mode. I love Depeche Mode. One of my favorite bands of all time. You look at me and you say, well, you know, Steve just like listens to Cannibal Corpse. No, I mean, not really. Maybe sometimes. But I like a little bit of everything, like you. And I like bands. I don't just like songs, and I like to find the deeper cuts. We got a couple today. This is a band out of Australia. They only cut a couple albums. And then they had like a greatest hits album off 2 albums. And really that's basically like the fulfillment of a record contract. Right? So instead of having to give back some money, you just, you know, release another album. And they had one album that was like a greatest hits album. Then they had like the singles. And they released like some bonus tracks with all that stuff to kind of package it up. But we're talking about Savage Garden. You say, hey, Steve, I haven't thought about those guys in a long time. I remember that song. You're going to remember multiple songs. And some of these you may not remember until you turn them on. I would say chances are you've heard the top 6 fairly regularly. And the closer we get to number 1, there's going to be more that you're familiar with. So we're going to start at number 10, a track called Hold Me. I think you'll dig that one. You know, the title is somewhat, indicative of what you should expect in a song. You know, it's about, personal touch, and sometimes we all need that. Sometimes we're dealing with something. It's like that video that guy did. I think it was Sick Puppies, and they had the guy walking around with the free hug sign. People took him up on it. People just went up and got a hug for free. And sometimes people are walking around with invisible weights, man. And sometimes just getting a hug from somebody makes a difference. It can turn your whole day around. Number 9, and I tell you this, this was a bonus track. If you have never heard this song, it is one of the more touching songs that I've heard in recent years. And it's a song entitled She. It's not specifically about one woman. It's kind of about all women that have contributed to your life. Your grandmom, your mom, your sister, maybe a friend at work, your romantic interest. And that's one thing that I will tell you. While Dana is the love of my life, I learned something and I gained something from every ex along the way, even if it was just for a short time. I mean, real relationships. I don't mean hookups and stuff like that. But every person that I gave my heart to in some respect, I got something back. And that's kind of what this song is about the strong women that made us. And I've been so fortunate in my life to have so many strong women that were there to help me heal. And I think in some respects that may be one of those character flaws that I have, is I have been so incredibly reliant on women. And what I mean by that is, my dad was around, but my parents were divorced by the time I was 15 months old. And so I lived with my grandparents and my mom. My Aunt Kathy was there, and she's kind of like my bonus mom. And then I had 4 sisters. And I got a couple daughters, obviously. But usually when I have had times in my life of conflict, I have run to women to heal, even if it wasn't romantic. And people talk about they're the fairer sex. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. God knew what he was doing when he gave women the ability to have children. There's just a nurturing element to that. And, as men, more times than not, we're warriors, some more than others. And sometimes you need somewhere to retreat and heal. And I have found that in the strong women in my life, at every phase of my life. And I think this beautiful song is probably, no matter what you listen to musically, you should probably listen to this and really study the words and think about the strong women in your life that have been there in your times of trouble. All right, number 8, this is another relationship song. It's Chained to You, but it's not like in a negative way. It's really about commitment. And it's a little interesting, too. It kind of starts with the synth, and then the guitar comes in. It's a little different. Number 7, and this is kind of a hidden gem within the catalog. I mean, it was a single in Australia. It didn't do a whole lot here. But it's one that is worthy of discussion. And it's the Animal song. I think you'll enjoy that one. Now, we get into 6 here. All of these songs charted in the U.S. Now, and this is my order of favorite. Okay, it's not maybe how they charted or how many, records they sold. And in these days, it'd be streams or whatever. And nobody really makes any money off streaming. They get it just a little bit. But number 6, a song that you probably have heard, but maybe don't remember, and it's worth a listen. It's called Break Me, Shake Me. Number 5, and I absolutely love this song. It is basically about somebody that loves somebody else. And maybe it's not romantic, maybe it's platonic, but it's like whenever, kind of back to the whole She song, right? Whenever something negative is happening in your life, you need a safe place to fall. And that's kind of what this song is about, is like crash and burn. Hey, when you're getting ready to crash and burn, crash into me, right? And I'll catch you. That's one of the most important things in life, is to have people that truly love you in times of trouble. And I was having a discussion earlier, and we talked about on the show, pain is an inevitable part of the human experience, and learning to deal with that. Running from pain does not heal the pain. Picking at the scab doesn't heal the wound, right? Same kind of thing, same principle. And so you learn to face things, and you get some coping skills, and you understand if you face the pain and you allow yourself to mourn and learn from it and kind of work through it. And that's one of the things, too. We get so caught up in our own stuff, when there's conflict, you don't think about the other person. You need to have some empathy. And that's kind of what this is about, is having somebody to be there to catch you when you fall. Number 4, and this was kind of their gateway song And many of you remember this when it hit the charts because it had the whole thing about cherry cola, the little vibrato there about, cherry cola. It's, I want you. I want you. I don't know if I need you, but I'm dying to find out, right? It's basically a song about attraction, savage amusement in some respects, the primal nature of attraction. It's like, I look at you and you're just so incredible. And you may be bad for me, but I'm willing to take a dip. All right, number 3, and I absolutely love this song. I have always loved this song. It's always reminded me of Dana. And I think it's probably true. And even the lyric says, I know this sounds crazy, but I knew I loved you before I met you. It's like you know that there's somebody out there and you find them and all of a sudden it just kind of falls into place. And you don't have to work at it or force it or kind of convince yourself that this person's not quite as amazing as you think. And it's a very beautiful song. A lot of people used it as their wedding song. Number 2, and this is probably the signature song. Like when I say Savage Garden, you think about this one. And it knocked off, I think, Candle in the Wind, if I remember correct from my research. It was like on the chart for like 3 years. It was crazy, but it's truly, madly, deeply. And again, it's about falling in love. And I hope that you have that in your life. And if you don't have it, I hope you find it. There are a lot of people out there in bad relationships, and there's nothing, like when your personal life isn't right, nothing is. You know what I'm saying? It's like when I got a bonus son out there, and I won't say his name, and his dad's not in his life. And this young man's been in my life since he was probably 8 years old. And he's dealing with some real world stuff today. And that was one of the things that I told him. He's not getting back what he's putting in. And I won't give you the details about it because it's personal stuff. And I told him, I said, this relationship is clearly not working for you. And life is short, death is certain. Don't waste a day living unhappily. It will be painful, it'll be difficult, but one day the crowds are going to clear and you're going to be like, man, that's the best decision I ever made, was to get away from that toxic environment. And the word toxic is thrown around a lot, but if you had to come home every single night, to a house where somebody didn't love you, and they're open about that, can you imagine that? I mean, you just want to stay at work all the time, but you've got a sense of obligation because you've got a family to deal with. And it's difficult. But I hope that each of you, if you don't have it, that you find it. And if you've had it and lost it, I hope you remember it kindly. But number 1 for me, I absolutely love this song, man. If I had a better singing voice, I'd cover it. I love this song. And I think it's the best. It's a little more up-tempo too. But again, it's about a girl that's a little bit troubled. And it's To the Moon and Back. And kind of how you get there. The lyrics, it's quite the ride. And it's basically poetry, man. It's so great. It talks about, people say, Mama didn't love her much. Daddy never kept in touch. That's why she shies away from human affection. And then, she's waiting for the right pilot to come. And she'll say to him, I will fly to the moon and back if you'll be my baby. It's how desperate some people are to be loved. At the end of the day, just about everything we do is to be loved, to be found more attractive, to be found suitable, to be a mate, right? Just about everything we do is for that. People say, oh, no, it's for me. No, it's not. It's not. You tell yourself that, but it's truly not the case. Now, does it help your self-esteem? Yes, which makes you more attractive. It makes you more confident, which makes you more attractive. And just about everything we do, whether it be creative, whether it be in the gym, you want to look good, you want to feel good. It's not just for you. You want to look good to the other sex, whether you're single or in a relationship. You want to look good for your partner. You want to take care of yourself. But, how many times do you hear, well, all of a sudden, they had this midlife crisis and they started getting in the gym and got tattoos and went and bought a sports car and all this kind of wild stuff. Well, a lot of that is because it's a self-esteem issue. They begin to kind of feel like they're losing their allure. And everybody out there, whether they admit it or not, everybody wants to feel desired by somebody. And why do you think Instagram is so popular? Right? So basically, Instagram is like Facebook without the post. Because let's be honest, like before Instagram was kind of a big thing. You met a hot girl or whatever, and you went to her Facebook because you wanted to see her pictures. Well, Instagram just kind of saved you a lot of scrolling, just put it all in one convenient place. You didn't really care about what she had to say. You just wanted to see what she looked like, right? And so that's why it's so popular. And I saw something a while back where, I don't know, I guess there were 6 or 7 young ladies from 20 to 35, and they asked them if they would give up their Instagram to have a meaningful long-term relationship. And 6 of the 7 said no. And where are we as a society that we would rather have a pixelated prize fueled by strangers that are just kind of thirsty than a real relationship? That's just a weird dynamic to me. It's like I would rather be liked by strangers than loved by someone familiar. That's nuts to me. It's like, hey, I get it. I get the allure. I'm on Instagram too. I get it. But the reality of it is it's fake. Now, there's some people, obviously, that would like to make it real life, but most of those people you don't want to meet. And so I share that because it's so important to understand a real connection with a real human being will always be better than a relationship with a cellular telephone. It just is. No matter what apps they put together, there's so much of that is important to understand. And there's so many people that don't handle that well. Like they can't handle a relationship, so they get the dopamine rush from posting a picture of themselves and then getting thousands of likes. And that's not limited to women either. There's a lot of men that do the same thing. A lot of people out there thirst trapping their way across Al Gore's internet. And so, but anyway, I love this song, to get back on track. And I share my own thoughts about those things because I think they're important. It's my show after all. But I think there are some things when you begin to think about your own motivation. It's to be loved. Like we were created to love, and we were created to love God, and we were created to love each other, and to serve each other, and to be kind to each other. And all that is like forms of love, right? To serve someone else, to be an acts of service person, that's love. That's Dana, right? She's affectionate, but she's not nearly as affectionate as me. And I'm probably the best gift giver that you guys have ever known. Not necessarily her forte. She gives me good stuff, but my stuff's probably a little more thoughtful. That's not being critical, but it's just something that I do. On the other hand, she can't do enough for me, because that's the way that she shows love. And so that's part of the old love language stuff. And you kind of figure that stuff out as we go. But I hope that you are loved, and I hope that you are loving at a high level. And I hope it's real love and not just something that you convince yourself of because you don't think maybe you deserve it. You do deserve love and happiness. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy Samanti, who's already got our list online now, at Dogmatic67. That's DAWGMATIC 67. And you can find him on Spotify under that same handle. Just hit subscribe, and then our list will be readily available to you as we turn you on to new music and remind you of old favorites. You can also find me on all forms of social media at Scout Steve R. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. We love Campus Bookmart. Why do we love them? Because they have what we want. What do we want? More Mississippi State merch. That's what we want. Don't overthink it. Birthdays, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Father's Day, Mother's Day. Mississippi State gifts are always in fashion. Be sure and check it out because Mississippi State style is always trending. And you can find the latest wares and clothing items that'll fit your desires at Campus Bookmart. Miss Kathy Brown does a great job outfitting that store with all the latest fashions, gift ideas, diploma frames. Be thinking about that. Graduation will be here before you know it. You want to be the favored parent. I guess it'll be parent's gift. Maybe you already are the favorite parent. I don't know. I don't know the dynamic of your family, but I know this. You will get some bonus points by getting that official Mississippi State diploma frame. You can find that at Campus Bookmart. It's a timeless gift. If you can't make it to town to check all that stuff out, hit them up on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. Okay, we got a couple of visitors coming in on Thursday, and these guys are just kind of depth guys, and I don't say that to be disrespectful. Both Eni White and Dakari Nelson from Penn State, both of those guys were highly coveted recruits out of high school. Injuries have kind of delayed some things for them, and so it's important to just kind of understand we got to fill out the roster with the most talented players we can. I think we're at 11 spots left to get to the 105. And so you're going to make a run. You have some walk-ons maybe that are some guys that earn a spot. But the reality of it is you want to get as many college football players as you can to kind of raise the floor of the program. So those two will be coming in. Again, not expected to start, but guys that could be depth pieces and maybe help us on special teams. So that's what we're looking at right now. So let's check the latest on the transfer portal. As Mississippi State picks up a couple of commitments yesterday. One of those from Tyler Miller, offensive lineman, prepped at Laurel High School, R.H. Watkins High School down there. Signed with LSU. He officially visited Mississippi State at a high school, but just didn't work out. He had some people in his camp that just felt like he needed to go out of state to pursue his National Football League dreams. And, hey, he was a 4-star out of high school. He's an 87 now. He was 91 out of high school. Transfer rankings are a little more fluid, I guess you could say. But another offensive lineman. You guys are jacked about that, right? More beef, right? But Tyler Miller, a guy that was going to visit Ole Miss. That was the plan after the official visit, is that once the dead period ended, he would go and visit Ole Miss. Mississippi State got that shut down and got him signed. So you beat Ole Miss head-to-head for a kid that they clearly wanted. Then you get Dalen Evans. Huge, 6'5", 310-pound defensive lineman. And the kind of the wide-bodied type, too. You know, he's not some long beanpole guy. A guy that'll get after you. And we needed somebody up front. He was a 96 out of high school. He's an 89 now. So just short of being a 4-star transfer. And has had some productivity too. But again, another guy that has done some decent things. 6'5", 310, as we mentioned. And we need as much size and mass as we could get. He had over 20 offers, right at 24 offers in high school. Texas A&M, Florida, TCU, and Alabama all hosted him on official visits. And now he's a Bulldog. Yeah, how about that? That's big stuff. So Bulldogs now up to 20 transfers right now. 18 of those 20 hailing from Power 4 programs. 10 of them inside the Southeastern Conference. Big news, right? Big news to say the least. And excited about that aspect of it. And again, you know, we've had so many things that have happened that have been very positive. We're not done, though. We still have to find a left tackle. Probably need to kind of work through this, and you start thinking, if you could get another defensive lineman, whether that's an edge or a guy that can slide inside, it's probably a best available type thing. But I think I'd like another defensive tackle. I think we've done a pretty good job on the edge and the 5-techs, but I think you're probably down as far as priority guys that are going to be a guy that is a two-deeper that makes a difference. You're down to probably just 2 or 3 spots now. And then there'll be some guys that we kind of backfill with a roster to help us practice. Again, to play special teams and be depth. And the better those players are, the higher your floor is. Because how many times have we seen we lose a guy on the 2 deep and then the guy that moves up and has to be in the rotation is just not quite there. So kind of looking back to here, I think we talked about this, but Kendrick Bingley-Jones headed to Alabama. Bit of a surprise. A guy that hadn't been ultra productive in his college career, but and now he's heading over there. Nathan Tice, punter, headed to Penn State. So maybe they owe us a player in that trade. Maybe. I guess we'll see. Again, some other former Bulldog players kind of working through this process. And Jordan Mosley will need a waiver, but has committed to Colorado State. Marlon Hawk, kicker from Mississippi State, was a kickoff specialist, lost a job to Kyle Ferry, now headed to Tulsa, be part of the Golden Hurricane there. So it's good to see those guys find spots, and there is still plenty of time for guys to find a transfer location, but there are more players looking for spots than there are spots available in the FBS. So there will be some guys that ended up going FCS, and we got some guys on our roster that are now in the transfer portal that did not make a contribution here, so they don't have a lot to sell, right? You can say, oh, well, he was a 4-star in high school. Well, yeah, he's 3 years at Mississippi State, barely saw the field. Not going to work out well for him. It's just not. And so that's an aspect that's important to understand. Now, today is the 14th, and portal is about to close, right? Visits will resume tomorrow, which is Thursday, and then close the business on Friday. The portal will close. Now, so far, Mississippi State, despite having 36 outgoing transfers, has not really lost anybody that they truly wanted to. I think you could make a case that Luke Work is probably a guy we should have retained. But the reality of it is that we have so far, knock on wood, have been able to navigate through this without the unpleasant surprise. The retention piece has been very, very good for Mississippi State. And that's something we're going to talk about now. Just because of the fact, Anthony Evans announces his return. That's a big deal. It was never really something we worried about, but it took a little time to get it done. But we got him back, and I was told, his family is why would we change anything? Our son is happy. He's been productive. He caught more passes than anybody on the roster last year, and has found a home at Mississippi State in this offense and with Coach Jeff Lebby. But you still had to kind of navigate through things. People have agents. But you go back and think, remember there were so many people that were so negative. Oh, Kamario Taylor's going to transfer. Oh, we burned his red shirt. Well, guess what? He ends up starting the last 2 games of the year. Played in 11 games this year. Yeah, you look kind of silly, to be honest with you. Those of you that kind of had that belief. That's just that self-loathing segment of the fan base. All right, working back a little bit deeper here, Seth Davis obviously just played in a couple of games. We wish Seth the best, but he's moved on. But you retain Fluff. Your leading rusher, 677 yards, he's back. Kamario Taylor, despite limited playing time, was your 3rd leading rusher, 458 yards. He had 54 carries less than Davin Booth, and Davin Booth only beat him by 100 yards. That's because Kamario averaged 5.6 yards a carry. And Kamario also your leading touchdown player on the ground with 8 rushing touchdowns this year. And so, again, important to retain him. As you guys are aware, the Brennan Thompson watch is over. He will go to the NFL Combine. He'll be in the Senior Bowl. All that stuff's going to happen. So he's abandoned his cause to try to get another year. But he ends the year with 1,054 yards, which is a school record. And then there's Anthony Evans. We just talked about him. 67 grabs for 831 yards and 4 touchdowns. And that touchdown against Arkansas will forever live in my mind. Your 4th leading receiver was Aiden Williams. 21 catches, 252 yards. We threw at him a couple times in touchdowns. But so you're going to bring him back. And so 2 of your top 4 pass catchers are back for next year. And, of course, you lose Brennan Thompson and Seydou Traore to graduation, and both of those guys may have an opportunity to find their way onto a pro roster. We'll see how things kind of play out there. On the defensive side, a little bit different, right? So Jerron Manning, obviously, not going to be with the program. I know he said he'd love to get another year. We'd love for him to have one, but that's a portal win for us. Last year we took him out of Old Dominion. Some people just kind of took a flyer on it. I had people in the industry and people at Colin that said this kid can really play. Well, he ends up leading Mississippi State in tackles with 91 tackles and got a little bit banged up at times too and had to leave games. I mean, that cost him 100 tackles. Nick Mitchell, a guy that, to be honest with you, I thought would be a career special teams player here. He kind of reinvented himself. We talked about embracing high hurdles. He did. Ends up being your second leading tackler. Brylin Lanier, JUCO product, D1 bounce back, 67. So your top 3 tacklers are gone. Isaac Smith played in just 10 games, had 64 tackles. And so that hurt him a little bit in the eyes of pro scouts. And he has had a surgical procedure to kind of remedy his issue, the lower extremity issue. Has re-signed with Mississippi State, already announced his return. That's a big deal. Jalen Smith, 57 tackles. He will be back. Zachary Tillman with 47 tackles. He will be back. And then, from there, it kind of dips off a little bit. But you kept Kelly Jones, one of the top cornerbacks in the country. And the defensive backs that are signing, you're like, yeah, this guy's legit. I can't wait to play with him. Tyler Lockhart, a guy that played extensively as a true freshman. And you may recall that the fiasco that went on with Ole Miss not reporting him as a signee, and State got the deal done, and we flipped him even after Ole Miss said he was signing with them, after he said he was signing with them. Then the Ole Miss folks said, well, he'll just transfer out in the spring. He didn't. Played the full year, and now if we can make it through 2 more days, then he's locked in for another year. Tough 2 years for sources. Calvin Dinkins played in all 13 games, and man, God bless Calvin Dinkins. It's overcome a lot. 27 tackles this year, a couple sacks, but he's an interesting piece. But as I said the other day, I'd like to recruit over him because I don't know that he is a frontline defensive tackle. I think he is your 2. I think he is a guy that go out there and give you, maybe 45% snaps and make some things happen. I think that's an important aspect of this thing too. So Trevion Williams announces a return, but the light really hadn't come on for Trevion. He's a guy obviously that we think a lot of, but just 20 tackles this past year in 13 games. Finally healthy, but still didn't make the jump we were hoping for. So you work through all that, and then you begin to think about kind of what you got coming back. And it's one of the reasons we had to really address some defensive concerns, just because we lose so much production on defense. We bring in these guys from Florida State, and that's all Zach Arnett. Just so you guys know, that's all Arnett. He spent last year as an analyst at Florida State. As a result, he has a working knowledge of their roster. And some guys like, Jalen Matthews that he worked against on scout team all the time, and he's like, man, this kid works his tail off. So Arnett bringing some quality players in that he has a relationship with to fit a scheme that he knows incredibly well. I had somebody ask me today, how good do you think this defense can be? Well, I don't know if we're going to have 3 first-round draft picks on it, okay? But I think this is probably going to be the best defense we've had in nearly a decade, I think talent-wise. And you think about what Arnett did and what he had when he was here earlier, Zach Arnett will probably have more talent at his disposal this coming year than he had at any point in his previous tenure at Mississippi State. And then you bring back Matt Brock to go with him, a guy that understands his system extremely well. And, of course, Matt Brock was a Mike Leach guy, came here from Washington State. And so incredibly important. And you remember that 2020 defense at the end of the year that Ed Orgeron and others had already chased him. And I know John Cohen doesn't get a lot of credit around here, but John Cohen got Zach Arnett to sign an extension in season. We didn't wait. And they put a huge buyout in there. So a lot of teams contacted him, but they weren't willing to pay that buyout to buy out his contract to get him away from Mississippi State. And Zach said the reason that I agreed to the big buyout is because I like it here. Then, of course, he ends up being the defensive coordinator and safeties coach in 21 and 22. And that 23 defense, when Zach was the head coach, was, called by Matt Brock, one of the better defenses we've had this decade. And so when you think about things philosophically and schematically, we're going to be difficult to prepare for. But in addition, we should be more talented on defense. And I think that's going to be a much different dynamic because Zach is really good about taking that tweener and finding a role for him. And now I think he's going to have guys that maybe fit that category. I think he's going to have guys that have more defined roles. I had somebody tell me today, thinking about Gus Cordova, that he's a maniac in the best way possible. And he loves the Zach Arnett system. I've interviewed Gus, and he talked extensively about, he gets so jacked when he's talking about it. He goes, yeah, they're going to have me attack the guards, and on other plays I'm going to be outside and working the edge, and he's going to move me around where I can both impact the defense. But this is the kind of guy to like run his head into a wall, you know. So you're excited about that, and you're excited about the fact that these young people are extremely excited to come play at Mississippi State. So people ask me, Steve, how's the portal going? I'd say really well. Now, the rankings may not reflect that, but we are a much better team today than we were earlier this month when we played Wake Forest. You guys know how bad that defense got beat up down the stretch. And a lot of it's because we just didn't have depth. Wasn't as bad as it was the year before, but let's be honest, the last month of the season felt an awful lot like 2024. And maybe Coleman Hutzler was a bigger part of the problem than maybe Jeff Lebby wanted to let on after year one. You could argue, you know what, Coleman didn't have a real chance because he didn't have enough dudes. Well, he got more dudes last year, and they were better halfway through the year. And then, again, kind of regressed down the stretch. We all saw the same games. I'm not breaking any news here. But I think when you think about what you have coming back and what you've brought in, I think you feel really good about the balance of things. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. The best place to stay in the Golden Triangle, bar none. You'll be glad you did. You've always thought about how cool would it be to have everybody under one roof so we never have to leave each other, right? We can go to dinner, come back, hang out, play games, sit around, drink some wine, watch some TV, just kind of chew the fat. It's those in-between moments that mean the most in life, so I encourage you to make some of those with the people you love the most. We've done it, and you should too. This is 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. You can do your tailgating right there. You can. Now, Google the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. And when you do, their Facebook page auto-populates. You can peruse all the pictures of all the amenities available to you and your guests. Plenty of parking. You need to get that established right out of the gate because you're thinking, man, we're bringing a large group to town. You don't think about it till you get there. Do we have somewhere to park? No worries here. Huge parking lot there. Plenty of room for you and all your guests. Full-service kitchen. So if you want to cook in, you can. Get up and make some cinnamon rolls in the morning. Maybe just some bacon and eggs, completely up to you. Wet bar, maybe you want to partake in that. Back porch area, great place to sit, watch the sunset or sunrise. And of course, that fire pit area, great place to just sit around and have a discussion. 6 bedrooms, 2 soon to be 3 baths. Just out past the Highlands, the old renovated Country Club Clubhouse is an absolutely outstanding facility. Again, we've stayed there. We recommend you do the same. Now, when you do that Google search, you're going to have some booking options pop up, Airbnb, VRBO, but if you want to save some money, book through the Evolve website using promo code BSR10. That's BSR10. That gets you 10% off your stay just by being a listener to this show. All right, we're going to wrap up some college baseball here. Had somebody send me an exercise. Said, Steve, we feel like Mississippi State's going to be a lot better this year. How do you see the league as a whole? Well, it's always going to be great, right? But the exercise is better or worse record than last year. That's the question. Better or worse record than last year. We're going to start with Alabama. Last year they went 41-18, 16-14 in the SEC. Do we see them doing better or worse? I'm going to put them down worse, but slightly. Like if we had a category for the same, I'd probably go that way. But slightly. I think Justin LeBron is great. I don't know if there's enough pieces around him in that lineup to properly protect him. And you don't have Riley Quick. Pitching last year was just such a moving target for them. And then you lose the one guy you could always count on. You got to break in some new stuff. Rob's done a great job there and enjoyed getting to know him a little bit last year, but I got him slightly worse. Arkansas went 50-15 last year. I think Dave Van Horn is arguably one of the top 3 coaches in all college baseball, at least top 5. They won 50 games last year and went 20-10 in the SEC. This is an easy one for me, even though I think Arkansas will always be good as long as Dave Van Horn is there. I got Arkansas worse. I don't know how much significantly worse. I just don't see any way they win 50 games. I don't see 20 SEC wins either. I think they take a little bit of a step back, but maybe 41, 42 win, maybe something like that. I think they get to 40. But, of course, they benefited from playing deeper into the tournament and getting to Omaha. So, played a lot more games. But, yeah, I see them being worse. Now we get to Auburn. And this is a team last year that won 41 games, finished 17-13 in the conference. I got Auburn being slightly better. And, of course, Auburn last year ended up with a top 8 national seed with 41 wins. And so I think, again, maybe they're in the top 8 discussion, but I think they're a top 10 team, and I think they win more than 41 games. So we'll say slightly better for Auburn. They got some young pieces that are really intriguing. And, Bush is always going to, have some guys that compete on the mound, provided they can stay healthy. So we'll take Auburn just slightly better than the year before. Florida. Do you remember what a train wreck Florida was at times last year? Guys, they won 39 games. And then 15-15. And had to get hot at the very end to make it matter. Been a lot of things that have gone on in the offseason down in Gainesville. Hope for the best for everybody involved. Florida always has pitching. They had some guys kind of called from the roster last year. I like the look of this team. I don't think they're an Omaha team, but I do think they're a team that improves on last year's 39-win record. Georgia. Another one I'm kind of on the fence about. They went 43-17, and for some reason, these two Georgia teams under Wes Johnson have flamed out in the postseason. They got to figure out what that's about. Part of it is, you benefit from playing at Foley Field, that launching pad down there. And so I don't think that team could win at Omaha. I think they're conditioned to play in a hitter-friendly park. But they went 43-17, 18-12 in the league. I've got them a little worse this year. And I honestly think they could be a team that doesn't get to 40. They'll be a good team. They'll be a tournament team. I think they could be a team that maybe is in the hosting discussion and comes up a little bit short. They've been so portal reliant, I just never know what to expect. Another easy call for me, Kentucky. I said it the other day, I thought Mingione did the best coaching job of his career last year, considering that he lost 8 position players and won 31 games and made the tournament. Went 13-17 in the league. He gets in. I think they're better this year, probably 500 in the league, but I think they're mid-30s type win team, and I think they'll probably be a solid number 2 somewhere. LSU, another easy call for me. Worse. Not going to be bad, but worse. They won 53 games in a national championship. I don't have them winning it this year, and I tell you, outside of a couple of guys down there, I think there's a lot of unknowns with this team. Now, against non-conference foes in that ballpark, they'll smash some people. But, man, you got to realize what they lost pitching-wise. A ton of guys. I think LSU takes a step back. I do think, of course, they're always going to be in the hosting discussion. Could they be a top 8? Absolutely. But it's going to be relying on their pitching. Another one that kind of gives you a little bit of pause because you're not exactly sure how good the portal class was. They bring Hunter Elliott back. Yes, we're talking Ole Miss. They went 43-21 last year, 16-14 in the league. I got them slightly worse. I think they get to right that 40-win plateau, so they're right there in the hosting discussion. But I think they take a small step back. And again, a lot of us are just not sure what to expect from that portal class. Another very, very easy, probably the easiest decision we'll make. Mississippi State went 36-23 last year. I think there's no question this is a 40-plus win team. I think this is a team that probably wins 17 or 18 SEC games, if not more. Ranked 4th in the country. Right? We just talked about it on Monday's show. I think this is an easy call. I think State could even be like a 45-win quality team. And a lot of it's going to boil down to growing up on the mound a little bit. But offensively, I think this team is going to be elite. Another easy call for me in the other direction. Missouri's got to be better, right? They went out and spent a little money in the portal. They got a few guys. Guys, they only won 16 games last year. We set a school record for runs scored in a weekend, home runs in a weekend, home runs in a game against Missouri. It was a pitiful team. They had some major injuries to their pitching staff early in the year, just never could get on track. Carrick Jackson's a great guy. Wish him the best. They won 16 games. They're not going to be a winning team. They're not going to have a winning record in the SEC. It's not even going to be close, but they're going to be better than 16 wins. An easy call. South Carolina, 28-29 last year. Went 6-24 in the league. They also dropped some non-conference games that were pretty pitiful. 28-29, they had a lot of guys get in the portal. They got a lot of new faces. We'll see what happens. I think they're slightly better. I don't think it's enough to save Maneri's job, though. I don't think they make the tournament again. I think they end up with a losing record in conference and maybe like 10-20. I don't think it's going to be a good year, and it's not going to be enough to keep Paul. Next on our list, and this is another easy call for me, it's Tennessee. Last year they won 46 games, 16-14 in the league, and there were some times last year that they looked really vulnerable. Well, now Tony's gone, Frank Anderson's gone, and a lot of that roster's gone. A few key pieces return. Ellender's back. They made some staffing changes. I think this is a year of adjustment. I think Tennessee doesn't take a huge step back, but probably bigger than some other teams. I think they're a team that may get to the 40-win plateau. I think they probably end up 38-39. I think there will be some growing pains with this team, so I've got them worse. Texas A&M last year went 30-26 and got hot late. Went 11-19 in the league, and a lot of people were like opining that they should make the tournament. No, they should not. No team with an 11-19 record in the SEC should ever make the tournament. That includes us. Should never happen. There's been some 12-win teams, and at times there have been some 11-win teams that made it, but the reality of it is there's too many good college baseball teams these days. Too many good major teams to keep one of those teams out. Mike last year had some growing pains, had some injuries, but now Grahovic is back. They got some pieces back that make a lot of sense. A&M is better. I don't think they play their way into a hosting opportunity, but I think they are a solid number 2 somewhere, so I've got them on my list as getting better. Vanderbilt went 43-18 last year, 19-11. Had the big series against Tennessee when Tennessee was kind of wobbly. Vanderbilt at times last year, too, just looked well beneath what they should. And I go back to since we implemented NIL, Vanderbilt has not won a college baseball regional. Let that sink in for a second. Since they played us in the national championship in 2021, Vanderbilt has not won a college baseball regional. We had neither. But the difference is Vanderbilt is a team that was basically dominating the recruiting market with need-based aid, so the playing field has been leveled a little bit. Vanderbilt's going to be worse this year. Not dramatically worse, but they're going to be worse. We're going to close it out with the former Big 12 schools, Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma last year went 38-22. There were some times last year I thought Oklahoma was going to break out. Their ace has some issues for a while. They struggled to find a number 3 pitcher. Pitching was not what you'd expect those guys to have. Still won 38 games. If they'd have had one more starter, they're probably a 40-plus win team and probably with a winning record in the conference. Of course, two of those 14 wins came at our expense. Again, a series that still sticks in the Bulldog crawl. But I got Oklahoma being better next year. Texas. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think Texas is one of those teams that faded a little bit down the stretch. They win the SEC. Maybe they got comfortable. Schlossnagle's a great coach. They went 44 last year, won 44 games. This is maybe a little bit of a hot take, and maybe you wouldn't think so with them being number 3 in the country. I got them being better. I think this Texas team, with the pitching they have returning, with Volantis, with some very interesting pieces, and with a non-conference schedule that is not especially challenging, I think they're slightly better. And I do think they are a top 8 national seed, barring any health concerns. So that's how I see it. I got 9 teams getting better, some a little bit better, some a lot better, and 7 teams getting worse. I don't have anybody a lot worse, but I think there are some teams that take a little bit of a step back. But I still think, again, it's going to be a strong year in the Southeastern Conference. I think we will dominate the top 8 national seeds, and I think everybody is going to be shooting for the SEC like every other year. It's going to be a big deal to beat the SEC because I think we're going to be the top conference in RPI. again, I think it's going to be an incredible SEC college baseball season. And like all of you, I enjoy all of it. I don't just sit around waiting for us to play. I enjoy all of it. Anytime there's an SEC game on, it's on in this house because we want to be as knowledgeable about our opponents. So when we talk to you guys, we got some credibility. I'm not one of these guys about baseball, football, or anything. Like when you get to the football side of it, some people are like, hey, well, this kid from Michigan State, how good is he? Well, I don't know because I didn't watch Michigan State play this year. So I got to go call up some film to watch him. And there are some people, I don't know how you have hours in the day. I got 24 hours in my day. I don't know how many hours you have. Because there's a lot of people claiming to watch games, and I just think to myself, there's no way. There's no way. Let's just be honest. You went and did a Google search. And you wanted to pass off some internet clout. That's you, right? You want to be the resident expert, get a little attention. So when I watch college baseball, if there is a game on that we've got, a Power 4 team playing or a future opponent or an opponent in common, it's on in my house. I try to get my stuff wrapped up and then I go eat dinner and I watch college baseball because you never know who's going to show up in your regional. And like last year we had Northeastern, right? So I had to go call up some games online and watch those games to prepare because when else am I going to watch Northeastern? But of course, the resident experts, oh man, they got those two great pitchers. How do you know? Who'd you watch them against? When did you have time to watch them? Oh, I was just reading, Well, of course. But I don't care to read somebody else's opinion when I'm an opinion maker. I want to form my own opinion. And I remember going and watching that big starter they had, and I thought to myself, man, this guy's throwing balloons up there. We're going to rock this guy. And we did early. If I remember correctly, it was his worst outing of the year. And so that's an aspect of this to try to be the genuine article. If I don't know something, I'll tell you. If I haven't watched somebody play, I'll tell you. We get these portal guys in. It's moving so fast. I don't have time to watch most of these guys until they commit. And I'm not going to go invest time in a guy that's going somewhere else anyway. So I don't have the time to do all of those things and do it at a high level. So it's important, I think, for all of us to kind of accept the fact that when some of this stuff gets out there, oh, this kid's great. It's just talk, man. And the kid may be great, and maybe you got lucky, but there's just so much of this. I just think to myself, why do we do this? Why do we do this? What is gained from this? Just admit we don't know. Hey, you know what? I go watch him. Steve, what do you think about this pitcher? You know what? I tell you what. I haven't watched him play this year, and when I did watch him play, he didn't pitch. I'll go watch him. I'll give you a report tomorrow. There has to be some humility and all this stuff. So the Brad wants me to tell you guys too. There are 17 days left in this month. If you buy a membership at True Rest Floats by Starville, it doesn't matter what level membership it is. It can be basic, premium, unlimited, whatever. If you buy a membership, then you get 30 days of unlimited floating. Right? So that's the next 30 days. So let's say you go in and you buy a membership today. You got 30 days of unlimited floating before the details of your membership kick in. You get the benefits of membership. You can come every day if there's a spot available. And I mean that, unlimited floating. And if you're a member, you get to bring a first-time floating friend for free. So let's say, for an example, you become a member and you got a friend that says, hey, I've always wanted to try that. Well, guess what? We'll let you bring them for free. Just once, but you can. And so I share that with all of you because we have some incentives going on. And that's one, if you have always wanted to try it, or maybe you've been a member in the past and just felt like, I couldn't go as often as I wanted to. But now you're thinking, now I'm in a different place and I miss floating. Well, you can come float. Again, so you buy a membership and you get 30 days unlimited floating. You can do a double float if we have space available. Instead of doing an hour, you can do 2.5 hours. Interesting, right? To get more information, call my beautiful bride, Dana, at 662-268-7601 to get more information about True Rest Float Spa of Starkville. If you haven't done so, go to DutyNobleBook.com. You can get signed copies of all of my sports books and the personal memoir, When the Bottom Falls. Of course, that's Flim Flam, Stark Villains, Alpha Dogs, Dogpile, The Dude, and of course, When the Bottom Falls. And we'll have some other stuff coming up soon. So visit that website, get taken care of. Valentine's Day is coming up. It'd be a great gift, right? And then come join us over at genespage.com. And, we're excited to have you. And, of course, if you're a full-paying subscription holder at GenesPage, you get complete access to the Paramount Plus streaming platform for free. Yeah. And so $13.99 a month, or you can do the yearly special for $139, which saves you, of course, a couple months, but it gives you the benefit of the Paramount Plus streaming platform, which I plan to watch here in just a little while. We love each and every one of you. I hope that you and everybody you love is far from harm, and I hope that you got things going your way. And here's the thing. No matter what you're going through, good, bad, or indifferent, it won't always be this way. Life is always changing. And you can make a bad decision, but you know what? You can find a way to dig your way out of that. And I'd encourage you to do that. As I discussed earlier about my bonus son, sometimes you may have made the wrong decision. Now you got to make the right one. And there's a lot of times, too, where one of those decisions doesn't have to be a life sentence, and it doesn't necessarily have to be relationship-wise. It can be any decision you made. As long as there is breath, there is hope. And so I encourage you, find some beauty in life, spread as much love as you can, and until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends and enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.